I think that's appropriate lighting for this video. Hello! In February, this is probably going to be posted long after I record this, but in February I hosted a poll on my community tab about what video you would all like to see next, and one of those options is what Saiyan means to me, and it was not the most popular choice, but I still wanted to do it because I feel like Saiyanism is very misunderstood. It has a harsh name, and so a lot of people have a very intense knee-jerk reaction to just the name, and I wanted to explain what Satanism and Satan itself means to me. Before I go into how I view deities and Satanism, because it's a very individualistic kind of religion. It's very up to however you want to practice it. But there are some basics that you have to follow, no matter how you worship or what you worship. Being Satanist, you do have to follow some fundamentals. And the 7 fundamental tenets I have right here on my laptop. 1 should strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. 2. The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over all laws and institutions. 3. One's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. So, notice how those last 2 tenets right there protect abortion rights. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. Belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care to never distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. People are valuable. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that may have been caused. Every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. So you'll notice that the fundamentals are pretty much just don't be a douchebag. And whenever I explain Satanism to people, I always open with those fundamental tenets because it pretty much contradicts everything that comes to the average person's mind when they hear the word Satanism. Because generally that means evil. For most people, they hear that and it means evil immediately. But that is not what real life Satanism is. In addition to the 7 fundamental tenets, we also have the 11 commandments of earth, which go: do not give opinions or advice unless you are asked. Do not tell your troubles to others unless you are sure they want to hear them. When in another's lair, show him respect, or else do not go there. If a guest in your lair annoys you, treat him cruelly and without mercy. Do not make sexual advances unless you are given the mating signal. Do not take that which does not belong to you unless it is a burden to the other person and he cries out to be relieved. Acknowledge the power of magic if you have employed it successfully to obtain your desires. If you deny the power of magic after having called upon it with success, you will lose all you have obtained. Do not complain about anything to which you need not subject yourself. If it is unnecessary, shut up. Do not harm little children. Do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for food. When walking in open territory, bother no one. If someone bothers you, ask him to stop. If he does not, destroy him. So, what each of these commandments, how I interpret each of them. Do not give opinions or advice unless you are asked. It's pretty straightforward. Do not tell your troubles to others unless you are sure they want to hear them. Also pretty straightforward. A lot of these are pretty straightforward. A lot of this is pretty straightforward. Do not take that which does not belong to you unless it is a burden to the other person and he cries out to be relieved. That can be taken in a physical or metaphorical sense. I prefer to take it in a metaphorical sense. I normally interpret that as taking credit. Obviously don't steal, but I interpret it as taking credit, not acknowledging the power of magic, or else you will lose all you have obtained. I have found that you have to acknowledge it consistently. You cannot just acknowledge the power of magic once and be done with it and think that you'll keep everything you have. You have to acknowledge it consistently. You have to keep in mind, like, I always like to start my day writing down what I'm grateful or thankful for, and normally what I write down is something that magic has helped me attain. And I consistently, just when I pray even, I thank Satan for everything I've obtained through his magic. Do not kill non-human animals unless you are attacked or for food. This would mean, for me, no leather. I'm going to keep the leather I got before this, but I am not going to be getting any more genuine leather because that would technically go against my religion. So, no furs or leathers. No real furs or leathers. Faux are fine. But no more wearing animals for me. You can still do all you want, but that technically contradicts one of my religious beliefs. So I will not be wearing animals. And that is not all to shame anyone who does like leather or furs or skins or anything like that. That is just me saying personally is not something that I will be doing. How I worship. So, starting with deities. The Temple of Satan, or the official Satanic Temple of Salem, and the Church of Satan often advise to worship yourself as a deity, which in the first few years of exploring Satanism, and because I was also going through a lot of intense trauma when I stumbled upon this. So, in the earlier days of exploring Satanism, that is what I did. I actively worshipped myself as a deity. But as time has gone on, I have also accepted the deities of the 7 princes of hell, which is just a demon assigned to each of the deadly sins, which I'll probably have in a list right here. Because I can't name them all off the top of my head as much as I would like to be able to. I can't. Which I'm ashamed of. But I also believe in the power of Earth. I am also Celtic, Italian, and Native American. So I have cultural influences to my religious beliefs. So I believe very strongly in the power of the earth. So I do use crystals. I do like incense. I believe that the 5 basic elements that connect to each point of the pentagram, fire, water, earth, air, and spirit, all hold great value. And are extremely powerful, and I utilize them as frequently as possible. As frequently as necessary, I should say. Veiling. You may notice that I frequently wear headbands, scarves, or bandanas on my head. That is actually a religious thing. Is both for spiritual, emotional, mental protection. I found that the pressure on my head also helps alleviate headaches, which I got a lot before I started veiling. But it is also a symbol of devotion and dedication to my deities. Not all veiling, not all head coverings are about modesty. A lot of the time is about devotion. And again, there are cultural influences. I worship a little bit differently than the average Satanist anyways. I also pray. I pray to the devil. Basically, I pray to the 7 princes of hell, but I pray. I pray a lot. And it's not that different from Christian prayer also. Going back to cultural influences and the earth, I believe that connection with nature and the ground and water and the oceans, and I believe it is all very important to have a balanced, fulfilled life, fundamentally and religiously. My religion also plays a part in how I perceive gender. As I mentioned, I am Native American, and that heritage has heavy influences on my religion. I identify as two-spirit, which means my soul is that of both a man and a woman. Majority of Native American tribes who had this worshipped two-spirit people and held them in higher regard than the average person, because they were believed to be able to take the strengths and wisdoms from both man and woman and use that to be superior leaders and teachers and healers and caregivers. So my gender identity is also closely tied to my religion. It also alters how I view sexual relations. For me, sex does have the potential to be a purely physical thing for me, but oftentimes it is a spiritual outlet for me, and it allows me to form a spiritual connection. And sometimes that spiritual connection is not always intended, but it happens. Which is why I think I've begun to shift over to monogamy the more I have explored my religion, because I was polyamorous before Satanism, believe it or not. But I have found, especially as I have gotten older, that I formed too strong of emotional and spiritual connections with people, and that I need to be more selective, which is part of why I am in my first genuine, serious, monogamous, long-term relationship. As I mentioned earlier, nature is very important to me, and that includes plants of all kinds. Nothing would grow without a purpose. Not everything needs to be eaten. Some things exist for protection. Some things exist for healing. And for me, cannabis is closely tied to my worship as well. It carries energy. It sounds so dumb and like just another excuse to smoke, but it does genuinely carry energy, the smoke, and I also use it for mental reasons. But I think a lot of people don't always consider how complex religion can be and how many aspects of your life it can genuinely be a part of. No one expects my gender identity or my sex life to be closely tied to Satanism. No one expects my bandanas to be a religious garment. Hair, another thing. Again, going back to being Native American, so this is both spiritual and tied to my heritage, but hair is very sacred for me. It connects me to my ancestors, it holds memories, and it connects me to the earth, more importantly. So, hair is very important to me, and I like to reserve cutting it for times of grief, not necessarily when someone dies, just times of grief in general. Because my hair is also very thick and heavy, and the genuine weight off my head is so nice in times of despair. But no one anticipates my headbands or my hair or how I identify to be tied to my religion. So I wanted to make a video talking about it because I wanted to make people feel more seen in this, and also make people more aware of how Satanism really works, because it is not evil, I promise. Thank you for watching. My phone's about to die, so I have to be done recording this now. Bye-bye.